I'm Officer Junior, the Executive Secretary, Department of Design and Property Custodian Board.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Irene Julu, a member of the Diversity Community Custodian Board.
My name is Kamugisha Ronald. I'm a liaison officer working with the Department of Design and Property Custodian.
I'm Officer Junior, the Executive Secretary, Department of Design and Property Custodian Board.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Irene Julu, a member of the Diversity Community Custodian Board.
My name is Kamugisha Ronald. I'm a liaison officer working with the Department of Design and Property Custodian.
And I'm also providing a matrix of the current status of the works. Like I said, that this work was different. We started off with a few facilities. That was the administration block, a classroom block, the multi-purpose block, and the BCP workshop. The CJ and a 2 stands, only one. That is what we did in the first phase. And when those facilities were completed, we then agreed on what we should take on. But before agreeing or advising the contractor on which facilities to take on, we had also to see the funding plan from our user department. Which funds are available for this financial year? What can we take on, which we can execute to completion? So members, I'm highlighting that those facilities that were started on under phase 1, they achieved practical completion. And the defects at the time were noted, and we instructed the contractor to work on those defects. And I think those are some of the defects that are still outstanding, that are not yet completed. Then we went into the phase 2, the facilities that he embarked on under phase 2. Those are the staff houses. Even the library came much later. Then the dormitories that are not yet done. And then the other 2 blocks of 2 stands and the 5 stands, which we have to execute to completion. So what I'm saying here is that the scope was bigger, but we've been doing these works in parts. But we intend to have all this completed. How are we been progressing? We have been, if I go to, sorry, I didn't number my pages. The matrix gives the status of the works, what has been done and what is pending as per the contract. And what I want to inform members is that what has been done so far has been paid out. And out of the 2.2 billion, we've paid out 1 billion. That is, it includes that advance of 220 million, and so far we have only recovered 128, and we still have an outstanding balance to recover of 91 million from the contractor. Before I go to the specific issues that were raised, I have also attached a matrix reflecting the items in the contract and the payments that we have made to the contractor for each of these facilities, and also the dates of these certificates. And from our end, you'll note that certificate number 1 was in 2016 and number 2. Then between certificate number 2 and 3, of course we had some lapse there. That is the time think the contractor was not financially okay and had gone off site for some time. So we could not, he was claiming he was not paid, but again he was not also executing work for us to be able to pay him for the work done. And he only resumed much later and was able to raise a certificate in May 2018. And then the following ones, 4 and 5. And our last certificate was issued last year in September 2019. From our records, the payment vouchers, like I said, there is the issue of the delayed payment on our part, but where we delayed between certificate 1 and 2, he charged us interest, which we paid. For these others, it was on his part because he was not available on site. And as a ministry, we are also making all efforts to see that when we have a pending certificate, it is paid out. From the vouchers, we acknowledge some delay on our side where we delayed to pay off a certificate that has been issued, and that was one of the reasons the contractor advanced for not moving at the pace that he was expected to move. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to address myself to the issues, the specific issues that are raised by the team. Chair, I want to confirm that we have a contractor. He's called NKW, not Kasango, or he's not anonymous as got from some other report. It's NKW Construction Company Limited that was procured and signed a contract with the Ministry of Education to execute these works.
But you also go on record to confirm that you are sure the contractor did subcontract.
Chair, on my side, he did it informally. That is an informal arrangement because in the contract it does not allow for subcontracting. And secondly, it is between the main contractor, the principal contractor. He did it informally. It is not formal. One, it's not provided for, and two, at least he did not come to us to request for that, so that we have an amendment and maybe allowed to have a subcontractor. So if we don't even have a copy of their agreements. So possibly, if Kasango is there doing the work on behalf of NKW, for us we look at him as an employee, not as a subcontractor. So what we have to communicate, we communicate it to NKW.
But at least that confirms you are aware it's not NKW working. That is the fact. Because even from the information we had in the meeting with the district officials, they have been sharing with you people, and you are aware that the person who is on the site is not NKW.
Chair, sorry.
And I don't know when you last visited there to really confirm that that NKW is on ground and to justify the commitment to make payment.
Chair.
But you first proceed. I just wanted to bring it to you.
You're right.
For the 1 day and short period I was on the site with the committee, there's a lot of information we got. And if somebody has been regularly supervising, that person knows exactly what was on the plan, because the same people will tell you the same information.
Thank you very much, Chair. Of course, at the ministry we pay NKW because he's the contractor. NKW and all our certificates and even the payment vouchers for in NKW. So Kasango comes in as an individual, and yes, I know him, I've seen him, I've interacted with him, because on some other contract still he was working with NKW, so I could well take him as an employee of NKW. But if they have those other arrangements, at least I'm not aware, sir. Then, like Chair, I tried to highlight that the designs provided at the time of contract bidding catered for the site at Rishere. So we experienced some delay. Of course, that is for the case of the earthworks that had not been planned for, and we have now to integrate them into our appraisal. Chair, on the dormitories that are not yet completed, yes, I acknowledge these dormitories have not been started, because first of all, we've had a number of discussions on site where they are supposed to be, and majorly our challenge was on the terrain. He submitted a request because we really wanted him to bring like a machine, not manual, to bring a machine to cut the whole area to level. But when he gave a quotation, it was quite big, and that is what we have reviewed and finally came to a certain figure which we can accommodate within our contract using the contingency fund. So for Chair, I pledge and promise that this is going to be done immediately, because he has already received that instruction to proceed with this work. With the drainage, it is provided for in the contract, and general items, if we look at that matrix are provided, there is an item at the end under general items. It provides for the drainage, stormwater channels, stone pitching. So it will be done at the end after working on these facilities. Still in the general items, we have the gatehouse provided. So it is part of the scope and it will be worked upon. Then the supply of furniture. We have only received an indication from the contractor. He has requested for the samples of the furniture, which samples he has to submit. We inspect them and approve before he goes into mass production. And of course, over time, we are not really fierce to have the furniture supplied given the circumstances, but this one we are only trying to avoid damages and vandalism for the furniture getting lost when there is no one at site. We had thought that all these fixtures would come at the end when we also have people taking over this institution. Right now, this is a new institution without staff or any leadership. So some of these fixtures, we thought it's the same to the electrical. We do the conduiting, but the fixtures, the switches, lights, and what, we thought that those would come at the very end, when now we have identified how the institution is going to be managed and run, so that we hand over to a team that will take care of these facilities. But the provision is there. He's providing a sample, the samples of each of these fixtures, and then after approval, he will go into mass production. The motor vehicle workshop, Chair, like I indicated, these are some of the facilities under phase 2, which he has already commenced on the site clearance. And Chair and members, I want to mention that, of course, I also got concerned when you visited and the concerns raised therein, I called for a meeting with the contractor, which we had on, was it Monday or Tuesday? On Tuesday, yes. And of course, all this was now discussed in detail, and we demanded for a plan of how he intends to have this accomplished within the extended time. And we told him that we don't have any more, we don't intend to extend this contract any further come June 2020. He's submitting, actually we are expecting a detailed now work program this afternoon, because that one will now show us that yes, for the motor vehicle workshop, I'm going to start on the foundation on this date. I'll complete it by this date. The superstructure, I'll start it on this date and have it completed on this date. And now we are going to be monitoring that progress following that work program. The issue of the kitchen located far from the entrance of the multi-purpose hall. Yes, sir.
This is assuring us that by 30th June, yes, whatever outstanding works there will be delivered.
Yes.
It was completed.
The kitchen located far from the entrance of the multi-purpose hall. Chair and members, yes, I want to agree with you. The positioning of that kitchen, like I mentioned, the multi-purpose hall was constructed under phase 1. Then when we came to phase 2 to have these other facilities also started on, we realized the cart that we are going to have, if we put it, and even blocking that access road. So we thought the other side was cheaper where we put it, but I'm saying that we already have a provision for connecting the buildings and service areas, because the concern is that yes, while it is on the other extreme end, and yet it should have been this other side where these other rooms and the service rooms are located, but it was just because of the ground where we are going to fix that. Like I said, we are only cutting where we are going to do. We've had a lot of challenges in that cut and fill there, fit it here. So somehow we located it there, but there is already a provision where we are going to put a connecting space for the service area, so that it connects. Well, when they are working in the kitchen, they can also easily connect to this other side of the building. Then the defects on the completed structures, yes, like I mentioned, yes, we identified those defects at the end of phase 1. He has been doing them in bits, but as of Tuesday, he reported that he had concluded all, though, Chair, our last visit was in January. Yeah, I can't quote the date. You can get me the date, but our last visit was in January, but he just reported on Tuesday 17th that he had visited on 21st of January. That was the inspection we had. But the contractor reported on Tuesday that he had completed these defects, but we are yet to go and ascertain. And from that meeting, we already fixed an inspection date of 3rd April to go and verify whatever works he has executed, plus of course even the claim that he submitted for payment. We have already fixed 3rd April to visit. Chair, we've undertaken some steps to ensure completion of the facilities. We are committing to have our joint inspections and meetings at site together with the district technical personnel, where we shall discuss all the matters and agree on our way forward as a team. And also, of course, also continue with our management meetings at the center here. This is mainly a follow-up mechanism on discussed issues to see that the contractor is complying, but also remind the contractor any further delay, we shall be charging liquidated damages, and when you reach maximum, of course, the contract is terminated at that. And we assured him that we don't intend to extend this contract any further if it does not complete by the 30th of June 2020. We have duly instructed the contractor from our meeting. We have a comprehensive work plan indicating each pending activity. And this will enable us fast track the performance against the time. Chair and members, the ministry and the construction management unit in particular, we are committed to delivering KAZO Technical Institute as planned, and we shall continue with our efforts, securing funds internally and to see to it that the works are completed by June 2020. Mr. Director, Chair, I think I beg to submit.
Chair, as you guided, this is the first step and first phase of the concern, which was a KAZO technical school. It could be discussed, clarification can be made if honorable members want to inquire, then we can go further to what you have requested. Thank you, Chair.
I think honorable members, that's the presentation. But maybe before you come in, I will have to share the observation of the Honorable Vice, who said from this technical perspective, what was being used there wasn't sand. It was just ordinary soil. Actually, for him, he called it clay. Because if it was sand, the floor wouldn't be peeling off, the ceiling wouldn't be crumbling. Mr. Director, if you went there, you will find on the compound they have already heaped materials that is dropped from the ceiling, and the same ceiling was being fixed, and it is again about to fall. Even as you enter through the corridor to the, you see that it is already curving in. So when Mr. Pio doesn't want to answer my question, you wonder, what does he do in the ministry? And when you say by June, today is 19th
March.
These are constructions that have taken years, and we think that in this remaining 3 months, because there were even no materials on site that I saw, at least I didn't see any. No workers, 2 people. I think they're just askaris. 2 people. Not. We were told the foreman should be technical on what they didn't know anything. There was, I don't know whether you saw Mr. eventually. So for what to say by 30th June, that is a tall order, and one would still wonder about either the commitment of the ministry or the competence of the ministry to achieve this. So, members, I leave it to you. Yes, Honorable Badiri.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. That building The director said it was started in 2014. What was the cause of the delay all these years? Is it lack of funds or what? Why has it delayed? And what miracles will you make for that contractor to finish the work within 3 months when actually it has delayed for over how many years now? 7 years. What miracles will you make? Then number 2, are you aware that that the contractor of yours has subcontracted the work to somebody? Are you aware of that? And if you are now, are you aware? And then number 3, why did you give is it a certificate of completion when the actual work is very shoddy and not completed? Thank you.
Okay, I think the first two shall explain the issue of the delay. There was also disagreement over the site.
Yes.
And
Okay.
the first site was flat, then now the current site is a bit sloppy. And
Okay.
And then the other one is
The subcontraction. Are they aware? Subcontraction, where
she
they.
said she's not aware. She knows
She explained.
NKW construction. And
But on the
apparently
ground.
She knows Kasango. So she said she thought Kasango was a worker of NKW.
But on the ground, they told us the
So the
subcontraction.
third question, please, you have to answer it. But you note down, I know others.
You will ask.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I want to thank them for coming. I also want to just register our disappointment on the whole thing from the time it started up to today. When we were going there, of course, we were expecting very good works, especially for me who was in this committee even when we started the issue of this. And at that time, we even had pen, which was dropped. Now I thought, since it is now going to the first district, I would maybe wait and see. But we got so disappointed, especially when we looked at even the type of work that is there. Even when you've been talking about having gone there. For us, we are lay people. Me as a person, of course, I'm a lay person. But when you look at even the repairs that you are talking about, you still see a lot of real work which is not equivalent to what we have spent there. Now, members have asked, like Honorable has asked about that. What are we really going to do to ensure that even the little work that we are going to continue, to ensure that we do at least better work? Then, of course, we are wondering, when you talk about June, and you look at what we have not even started to work on, the dormitories and the rest, you really need to explain to us what you intend to do so that the other part is completed. Then the other last one, I was wondering, we moved to most of these constructions that we are doing, and we realized that there is no component of fencing, and yet we are spending a lot of money. Why wasn't the fencing included? And what can we do to ensure that at least we fence so that we are sure that what we have spent will be protected? Thank you.
The subcontractors there. Is there?
He talked about that.
I know he talked about it, but the truth is that
It is
the
there.
subcontractors are not doing that same work. The red company is not doing the work.
Loss. I'm not only at pain, but also humiliated and embarrassed at such works. I'm happy that the chair and the committee came to see what I have been talking about. Chair, in the last 2 years budget meetings, I've been complaining about this. Whenever we come to the budget of construction of Pitipit, I was even told, don't worry, it goes together with Vamunanika, which is for one of our bosses. So I allowed it because I was assured that works were going to go on. I'll begin on a point of, first of all, thanking the director and his team for coming, and secondly, for admitting that things are not right and that you are aware. Now, when you talk of this technical school, I'll go first on the first page where you talk of the school changing site. Fortunately, I was the district education officer. I wrote the initial proposal that requested for that institution through Honorable Colonel Fred Mesije, who is a sitting member of Parliament from Yaushozi. And as you said, there was a poll on where the site should be. All that had passed. By the time the groundbreaking took place, when Honorable Major Jessica Alupo was the minister, I was present. I witnessed. And the contractor was handed over the site, well knowing of the terrain, what it looked like. By the time you awarded, I have been following this matter, this contractor knew what the site was like. So the excuse of saying that because of change of site it delayed, because of change of site, clearing and leveling of the site was not included, I don't take that, because I was following very seriously, because it is a need that the community was really excited about, and as leaders we put our time into it. So some of the questions I had here have been answered, but still I feel not satisfied. When you say you have been receiving reports and you have even done physical visit, I don't know whether what you show in your report is actually what you see when you saw when you got there. Because when we got there, as my colleagues have said, as lay people we were shocked. Personally, I was not shocked because I have been shouting and ranting about this site. But with my colleagues by my side, it was visible that this was a serious problem. So, what you have to say about the progress, we have noted. We also have our report from the district team and what the members observed. We can share and compare notes, and you'll see. Like where you talk of dormitories not completed, nothing has been done actually. They are not anywhere near beginning. So not even begun works on the dormitories at all. That's where I disagree with this report. When you talk of drainage being done at the end, I'm not sure we are talking on the same wavelength, because the existing buildings are being ruined and the rain won't stop. Some of the buildings don't have verandas and yet they are painted. They have glass shutters and windows and whatever. So with no veranda, you are surely going to have a ruined project there. So when you talk about waiting to do the drainage at the end of the works, meanwhile it is raining, the buildings that are in place are being ruined, the access road. We could hardly get up there. So how do you get there? When you go to inspect, at least there should be access. Then, I'm sorry, I'll take a little bit of time, Chair.
But now, when you talk about the building without veranda, how did they raise it?
I don't know. It has no veranda.
Where does the veranda come from? I thought it comes
plants
from
are-
the foundation of the building.
The plants are creeping all over it. It is painted.
The library.
It is the library. I'm not an engineer, but I think I can say that that is wrong.
You are a what kind of engineer? What But have you requested that site?
Yes, Honorable Mr.
And you have seen what the honorable member is saying?
Yes, I'm allowed to respond.
No, I just wanted to be sure you will be allowed to respond. It's one of the issues we have.
Yeah, then on construction of the motor vehicle workshop, nothing completely. So some of the things you are saying are in progress are actually not there. We visited physically and we have our report. So when you talk about NKW, whether they subcontracted or not, I will not say it is your business, but take note, it is our observation. Whoever is doing that site is not receiving all this money that you are saying you have remitted to them. And therefore, the works are in a poor state. They are being constructed substandard. And at the end of the day, we shall have a problem. I would like to request that NKW be blacklisted. Be blacklisted. And I have a challenge I would like to put forward. I think we have a problem with central procurement system. If you will admit, please, the central procurement system is letting us down. I was going to request for a visit, and you have already stated that you have a date. If we keep in touch, I definitely will be there, and you will see what I'm talking about. So the poor sand and the painting over the defects, yes. Some of the defects where you say he went back to do, to improve them or to work on them, he actually added a coating of paint, and then we paid him. So it beats my understanding when you give us assurance. It beats my understanding when you give us assurance of completing in 3 months a project that has stalled for 7 years, and I think this is incredible and will likely result in shoddy works. This is my comment.
And actually, for emphasis, when Badiri asked what miracle or what magic, they are going to use concrete in the 3 months, and that's what I wrote over here. 3 months. From your assurance, you tell us what new thing and magical things.
Whether we have a site plan,
Yes.
whether we have general site plan.
Yes, because we have an extension up to 30th June 2020. But what we have, for me really, even when we talk of having spent 1.something billions, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But you see, it's painful when you think that maybe these things should be happening in Palisade. Oh, Kasese is also near. Kasese is also near. But it is happening in Kazo Kiruhura. And Doreen went to Karusandara City School, where there was supposed to be a very, very nice construction. But you enter a classroom, it is like you are entering that sand area when you are going to the swamp. But supposed to be a floor. So you wonder, was there cement? You know? But the building out still looks good. And they have deep. You know, I was asking them, how do you even sweep? And there was you could not even see the aggregate. That was, and this was construction procured.
The school in Assessor.
Yes.
It's called
Karusandara Seed School. And that was a construction procured under the ministry, not local government. it's already wasted before, I think, how many years down the road. Yeah. So I think those are the issues we could raise, but it's so bad. You know, you feel so bad. You listen to the local leadership talking from LOC 5 to the LOC 1 of the area. You know, the image they have about the ministry and how you people are giving yourselves contracts and using people. That's what they were saying. Yeah? Yeah.
Chair, and to supplement.
These are schools that are newly constructed.
Supplement.
I was even telling them that I have a school I found when it was old, that primary school. I'm now old, but the classroom block is still there. There is no renovation apart from changing the iron sheets on the wall. There is no renovation. I was there just about 2 weeks ago.
Mr. Chairman, you even saw the school where the Honorable Minister said he went. The one of Ruby's, where they said we are now looking at the NRM Mabati. They were removing the UPC Mabati. The whole class and block of UPC Times is still very intact. Even when you look at the Mabati which they put, you will think it's a new structure. Leche Primary.
Yeah. Just want to supplement on the fact that we may be looking at the technical works and everything, but we must also bear in mind, let the director, we seem to be looking at the works, the delay, the funding, the quality, but we must also put in mind the fact that in the period of 7 years that the project has stalled, it has affected the education of that community. We have children who dropped out of school waiting for this institution to start so that they go for technical skilling. So what about them? Among the things that have been affected is the community who have lost an education of 7 years. That's a whole decade.
Because we were saying a number of parents were seeing a real hope to skill their children. So even when they finished P7, senior 4, they would not take them far. They were still waiting, and for them they were patient 2 years, now 3 years, 7 years, there is nothing. So you cannot encourage such a child to go back to school again. So I think Mr. Director, this is directly for the technical team there, and I would think Doreen to
Yes, Chair. Thank you. Let us start with the appeal. Then I will say the last appeal. Do you have any comment you want to say before and speak loud and clear.
I'll start by apologizing for the misconduct. Last time I think I was actually probably I was somewhere in Gabon. We're doing assessments under the USEP project. And also, I did not, it's the first time I'm meeting the Honorable. I really didn't know that I was actually speaking to him. But also,
you need to speak to me. I thought I introduced myself and quickly told him, no, call the case, I'm not supposed to call like you.
I'm really very sorry for that misconduct.
So everybody wants to talk to you must first look for you and meet you.
I'm very, very sorry for that misconduct. That won't happen again.
Even if he was not a honorable, he's a Ugandan who would have required for a service from you. Supposing all Ugandans are treated equally without looking at their titles, what would you have done in that situation?
Honorable members, I'm really very sorry.
Engineer, really for me, even if it is a story, it doesn't reduce anything for you or whatever. But why must you create opportunities for saying sorry when naturally you are supposed to deal well with the people? Because at your level of education, at your position, you should be somebody who shouldn't. Now you are saying that to me. How many other people have got a perception about you? How many members of the committee are not here? And this is not a personal thing. We were calling you as a committee, and we're also calling you as the engineer, not as your personal project. So some of these things really shouldn't be occurring. But for us, we are not interested so much in that. You can even say the worst words, but for as long as the works are good. So you continue.
Thank you very much for the for the observations made on site. We actually held, we have been holding a number of site meetings on ground, and actually have been involving the district local leadership and also the technical personnel. They have actually been carrying out the joint assessments and monitoring with us. Concerning specifically the issue of the poor quality sand, which has been raised here, we raised that issue earlier on, and I think jointly together with also assistance of the district technical personnel, we identified sand, good quality sand, which was I think somewhere along towards Masaka, and we issued an instruction to the contractor that this is where we're supposed to be getting this. The next time we went back, we actually found there had been quite a big change in the quality of works we was doing, and also concerning the bricks, we actually discarded all the poor quality bricks which were there, and even carried out some tests on them. When we submitted the right ones, eventually we gave an approval, and we then moved on. So if this is still happening, actually, Honorable, we are planning to get back, I think on 3rd as
You said you discarded the bricks.
yes, the poor quality ones which were there, Honorable.
You didn't want to see the discarded bricks on the same project. When you discard them, once you find the people. Yes.
Just wanted to know, Mr. Chairman, if there is a construction like that in an area in the district, do these people engage the technical team in the district to help them monitor? And also, do they have any monitoring structure? Because we know people are paid to monitor what is happening, government programs when they're happening. I'm embarrassed with the situation where Mr. Pio is saying if this is happening, meaning that they are not on the ground monitoring what is happening. Opio, are you in charge of what is happening down on the ground?
Yes, Honorable Member. I'm sorry for that, but
Maybe further clarification. When we were there, when we had that last meeting, the leadership of that place, they were complaining that they have not been involved in site meetings.
They have never had any.
And they have never had, for some time, it was only some other person who is now out of office. We said we used to have, when did you, maybe you can tell us when they last had site meetings with the leadership of the district.
yeah, thank you very much. I think the last meeting we held was around November, December, if I recall very well. And that time I recall very well, we had, I think the town engineer was present for Kazo. And then we also had the mayor, one called Enoch, gentleman called Enoch. He was actually, yes, he was part of that. He was part of that meeting. Then we also paid a courtesy call to the office of the cow and the LC5.
About the mayor, from what he was saying, and I find it very difficult to believe what you are saying. From what the mayor, and maybe you just went to the Balota site meeting. At least the mayor was there.
He was there, he was part of the meeting, sir.
No, I'm saying when we were in that meeting, he was there.
He was there. He gave us a lot of information.
I think let's first allow him to answer them.
Thank you very much. There was an issue which was raised on the certificate of completion. Honorable members, I would want to clarify that no certificate of completion has been issued out to to the contractor. What has been issued out are actually interim certificates of payments for works executed. Certificate of completion implies that the contractor has actually practically finished the work and they're actually due for technical handover. So that one, we have not yet actually reached that stage. So that certificate of completion has not been given to them. What has been issued out are actually the interim payments of certificates for works done. And then there was an issue which had been raised concerning the veranda, which has not been done on the library block. That is true. Ideally, in the sequencing of executing construction works, what we call it the veranda is actually, we call it a splash apron. A splash apron is done as part of the last works after you have erected the building and you have roofed it. And that's one of the instructions, honorable members, we have actually issued to the contractor to ensure that they have them done. Then concerning the issue of the drainage, honorable members, the drainage we are seeing here are actually the general drainage for the site. However, each of these buildings has a drainage channel around each of them. There's a provision for that. So we have also issued an instruction that they immediately commence on the specific drainage channels, which will now connect to the general channels and then take the water out of sight. Thank you. I hand back to my opposition.
Members, I want to respond to. I want to repeat what Raymond has talked about, but I think I picked one of fencing, which members raised. Yes, in the current constructions, we did provide for an element for fencing of these schools. However, from the very start, we had advised the local governments and sometimes the schools themselves that have administration to start on planting live hedge, because it was becoming costly having a fence on each of those sites. But at least the alternative was to have a live hedge started on as construction progresses, such that by the time construction is done, it has also grown. Then Madam, pardon?
The live page at whose cost? The contractor?
No, it was not the contractor, but in the discussions it was like the community giving back, that as government comes in to provide these facilities at so much cost, then what can we involve our community in by planting that hedge? That was between the ministry and the district local governments.
Now, which local government? Because I was in the local government, I was the education officer. I was even the chairperson of the contracts committee, so at no point did we enter that arrangement.
Honorable member, I right now, because I was addressing these seed schools, because it came in for the seed secondary schools. At least that arrangement is there and those communications are there. To the local governments. So that provision is there to all the local governments.
But it's the same local governments who were complaining when we visited that they are asking government to face the same local governments. So it looks like even when you passed the message, it was not a casual. Maybe you first passed it casually and they thought possibly it was from you and you, not necessarily that it was a policy.
Yes, honorable members, I think this is one area where we need to improve. I think it's just about communication, because when we make the communications, we make them to the chief administrative officers. And under this program, since he's the accounting officer, we communicate to him and we copy in all those officers, the LC5, the DO, the CDO, the environmental officer, and so on. But we can...
Mr. Chairman,
we have those communications.
The way I saw the community of Kamsharara, Nyakasharara concerned and participating in the project. First of all, they are appreciating. Secondly, they have owned it up to the extent of even looking for a committee that monitors the supervision. Now, when you look at the level of commitment of the people, I doubt they should have made such a request and it passed over to them. Because the team that I saw on ground was a very serious, committed team. That effect, see how we will commit the leaderships of those districts. But we should also be aware that parents may not afford covering a structure of 5 acres. And you said they look for trees to plant around 5 acres of land, because now that is the issue. That for an area to qualify to receive the SIP school, the government must show that they have 5 acres. When they have the 5 acres, then the SIP school will be given. For the parents to plant a hedge around 5 acres is not going to be. That is one of the resolutions that may be quickly defined.
Thank you, members. I take note of that. We shall see how we, first of all, recommit the local governments on that. And if they get back to us on failure to do that, then we can see, we can consider that, because that is now phase 1, which we hope to conclude by this end of this year. Then, of course, we are in the planning phase of phase 2. Actually, the teams are out, and that is the feedback that we are expecting from the local governments.
Mr. Chairman, just allow me to conclude this. The design of the staff quarters that you are doing, the communities are concerned that you are still planning for pit latrines in this 21st century, when people are no longer thinking about pit latrines. So the issue is that your next designs don't talk about pit latrines, because we saw there is a toilet, there is a latrine for the staff. At least it's not a dormitory, it's a home. So make it homely.
Thank you, members. I take note of that. That is part of feedback. And like even on Monday,
we had a session from another infrastructure monitoring team, and we agreed to have a design session where we are going to first of all get that feedback from the local government, and also review the designs that we have implemented. What are those issues that we need to change, to adjust? I've got that of the VIPs for the staff houses, but again also I know I got comments on the size of one of the bedrooms and maybe the wardrobes. So many items that we need to consider. But of course on our side also we can include them, but also the cost that goes with it, we shall be guided at that level. But thank you so much for that. Then I'm back to CASO, the defects rectification. I just wanted to say that, yes, as they rectify, like I said, we are going to verify. They've said they've rectified. We are going to visit, inspect, and say, is this okay? It's not okay. If it's not okay, you redo it until it is satisfactory. And it's not yet paid for. No retention has been released for that. So until everybody is satisfied and the facility is acceptable, then that's when payment can be done and the contractor released.
First of all, I'm happy you said that, and earlier you said you intend to go there on 4th.
Third of April.
Yes. 3rd of April. And Well, I want to believe that if it is a serious contractor, we should be able to really to address the defects now that the red alert has been raised. But I was seeing where they were trying to patch up a cracked floor, but what we was being put was also peeling off. And I was wondering, is this how to rectify defects? And then the community told us, the leadership told us, those walls are painted because they are cracks. That, and I now looked at the floor and said, maybe very soon the same cracks will again expose themselves. So I don't know how much you are doing in verifying the quality of workmanship and materials while addressing rectifying the defects. But also I wanted to know, what's the defects liability period in this case? Because this is an endless contract. What's the defect liability period?
Information is at Chairman.
Information to...
I just want to inform this meeting that Mr. Chairman, you realize that some of those contracts will never even get finished. Or if they are getting finished, then it is substandard, as you have just seen. In the sense that most of these contracts are awarded from the center to the contractors. When it comes to payments, they come to process payments from the center. But for them to access payments, it takes them more than a month or 2 months. And several kickbacks. If you have not given money to this table, you never get your document to proceed to the next table or to the next office. Until it reaches the last officer, the accounting officer, by the time you are going to access money.
Is that a definite position
or
an allegation?
It is what happens when you investigate and several contracts, by the way.
But it's also better to say that it's alleged. Other than speaking like
it is alleged. It is alleged, but that is the situation, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. But I've asked about the defense liability period because some of these defects are defects that happened some time back, but now someone is coming to fix them now. I don't know what, because the word extensions. But I will comment later on the issue of award of contracts and the level at which they are awarded. But I first wanted to get that clarification.
Okay, thank you, Chair and members. The defects liability period is, as provided for in this contract, is 6 months. But it is 6 months after acceptance.
After acceptance,
yes,
of the works?
Yes. Much as it was built 2 years ago, he has not handed over. So we are saying, if you think you're ready, let's come inspect your building. If we accept it at that point, then that's when we start counting our 6 months.
Okay, then this miracle you expect to perform to complete this construction by that year
Chair.
June.
Chair, why I said June 2020, we've had a number of extensions, and that was the commitment before. And the reasons that had been given was delayed payment or ABCD. We are saying, upcome 30th June, if you don't complete, because it was a commitment on the part of the contractor. Not that we extended it it was from September last year. So up to June. If he has delayed within this, he will be charged for that delay without putting any cost on us. But what we are saying, we need to push him. We need to see that, yes, he's achieving some level of completion by 30th of June. The dormitory blocks that are not started and one of the workshops. Those are 3 facilities. Like I said, the work program indicates that by next week he has to mobilize and get back on ground. That's why I said, okay, let me come on 3rd and see where you are. And these routine inspections on him will push him to deliver. Maybe because previously we may have lapsed a bit and given him a month or 2 without visiting and he relaxes. But when you put too much pressure on the contractor, first of all, he pledged to reorganize himself. Well, you said there are 2 officers or 2 masons. On Tuesday, we required him to come with his team. He came with a team, and we are saying, we want to see the same team on ground, doing the work that you have described that they are doing. So, on our part, on my side, I'm pledging that yes, I'm going to intensify my inspection to this contractor and follow up to see that we achieve a good degree of completion at that time.
We are still working the possibility of going back there.
Yes.
Actually,
if I may ask, welcome.
Let's only pray that Corona doesn't disorganize our
If I may ask, Mr. Chairman, if I may ask, by the time you even released the 1-point-something billion that you are talking about, were you satisfied with the quality of work on the ground?
At each stage, before preparing a certificate, an inspection is done, a report prepared, and then we pay for that work.
And you were really satisfied?
At every stage,
that he merited the payment?
Yes.
There must be a problem with your considerations for satisfaction. They may be different from what is expected. Because really for me, as a lay person, I wouldn't. Okay, look at a building which has no veranda and whatever. You are going there. As an engineer from Makere University, you would even just say, but there must be something wrong. If your considerations are related to the workmanship and the progress, but it's a problem. But I want to ask one question. Do we have, as we speak now, do we have all the money we need for this construction? As we speak now, do we have all the money?
No. Funding comes on a quarterly basis.
No, but in this budget, we have the 1-point-something that we need.
1920.
By the end of
1920? No.
2019, 2020. We have the balance.
So how are you going to enforce completion on that date? That date of June when you don't have the money? Because the contractor can decide to put in a lot of effort and build it.
Chair.
So how will you terminate such a contract where someone has delivered on his or her part and you have not delivered on yours?
Chair, on the issue of the payments, one, we are going into our 4th quarter. For this quarter, we have money to pay the claim that he has submitted.
How much is that?
It is 120.
Yeah, it's about 125.
Yeah, about 125.
That's
That is
as per the
pending
claim.
one, but we are going to verify and see.
Yes.
Yes, for this quarter, yes, it's available. Then the coming quarter, because this is what we have been discussing with the budget officers that are charged with this budgeting, funding for these projects. There is money for the 3rd institute, which is where work is not going on because of contractual matters. And
Of course, when it is available, we hope to use it because they are in the same. There are 3 of them in the same boat.
Same contractor?
No. Different contractors. So on my end, I know that the claims that have been coming in.
Actually, for me now, I don't want to go into
the details.
But can you assure us that come 30th June and the contractor has delivered on his part, you have the money to pay?
He will be paid. He will be paid.
Chair, let me omit that. PS is going to put that in this committee. The statements he's making. Because, you know, what he's talking about is that there are 3 institutions, but there's 2 which are no work is going on, but they have money. But the money is under the same GOU support, the BT-led project. So, at the discretion of the permanent secretary, will take, because if you don't do it anyway, the money goes back to the treasury. So you rather complete this building, which has been completed, and let this one, which has not started, wait for the coming year. This is what is trying to explain.
I agree with it, and I'm happy you are making another undertaking. And I think the committee will now expect the written commitment to capture the assurance that it will be complete by 30th June. And there will be money to pay for it. So those are 2 things.
Chair, if you allow me to intervene slightly. The money we can write. Completion, if it is not done, it means we shall discontinue this contract. That's what it means. Yes, if it doesn't finish. Because according to her, there is no more provision for extension. They have extended 4 times, same contractor. But if he finishes, then because you see, constructor does his work, we can tell him to do the work. If he doesn't do it, his contract will be terminated. Because if we go for a factor which we can't control fully on our side, because money we can control, the PSO can authorize that payment. But his work we cannot control, although we shall tell him to do it. And you have seen the kind of work he has done.
Yeah, but you have legal provisions to pursue the contractor.
Yes.
And undertake that, and
yes, we shall pursue him.
That's the commitment you want. You have the committing to explore the legal provisions to ensure that the contractor delivers by 30th June, and if he delivers, he will be paid within the financial year. And if he doesn't, the contract will be terminated. I think that is what we want to hear. But also delivering quality.
Quality work, yes.
Quality work.
Chair, just if members could allow me to say this, I know you are already aware. This same team built Mooney University. I was the commissioner for higher education, and we were sitting on the steering committee and technical committee every month. And when you go to Mooney, it is there for anybody to see what work we did. This same team, and the president assured us that this was a better, cheaper approach to building. We built Soroti University. You can go to Soroti University, let us not think about the management issues which are going on there, but Soroti University infrastructure is fantastic for everybody to see, this same team. So they really care for the good work, but I suspect the contractors they got were not the correct contractors. Because I know we got Complan for Soroti University. Complan is a big firm. It built us Nambole Stadium. And I think that's why I brought it standing. We got this one for Moon, for Ambitious. Ambitious has done a lot in Uganda, even in the East African region. It's a big contractor. So maybe what we appeal to them, I would appeal to them, and you would also direct us as our overseers, that go for credible contractors. Don't go for those limping. Because I'm ambitious, finished Soroti before, I've just signed off the certificate of ambitious. last certificate. But Shoroti is already being used since last year. But so it means they use their money to complete the university. Then we kept on paying them slowly. The defect liability money we have just signed it last week, the part of my desk. So this team, and we work closely with Ministry of Works, engineers in works, engineers in education. And we cut off the cost of hiring engineers from outside. That's what we try to use. And I thought we should go good, but I think the way when I look at the contract, the quality of the contractor is questionable. And this is what you, as our overseers, should really direct us. That why do you go for contractor with no review?
Mr. P.S., really, we shouldn't be directing you. We should expect of you. We should expect of you that you go for the best. Because we didn't direct you on the Muni, we didn't direct you on the Soroti, yes. But you were doing your work as what you expect of you, quality. And if you could do that in the Muni and in the Soroti, it could have been better to do even something better in the Kazo or Kiruhura, where someone can say, let me first branch here and see, and he sees something excellent. So I would do. I wouldn't want us to drag on this, but I would think that if you people cannot deliver this by June, you rather give the district to contract someone to complete it, because they really need it. They really need it. That you can do other things. Personally, I will say that I have looked at some of the city schools under construction. I don't want to go into how much it is, but the quality of workmanship is very promising. Yeah. You look at this, and you know the level of appreciation by the district leadership, the level of involvement, actually contrary to what we were saying in the house. They are so much involved. They are so much involved because they can see good work. The others are trying to distance because they have not been involved at the beginning. They are seeing shoddy work, and they don't want to be associated with the shoddy work. And that's why they are quick to say these people just sit and award themselves the contracts through other people. That's what the RDC, the chairman, LC5, Kao, the mayor, and whatever were saying. And they will still say the same to another person and another and another. So why don't you leave the same impression that you've left in Soroti, you left in the Muni, and this one that the city school under construction. They are very happy with the kind of contractor that is, and the workmanship. Even me as a layman, I saw and said, yeah. I went categorically, I saw what was going on, and you could see something very good coming up. So, the director, we don't need to direct you. You just need to make it as part of your normal work, that we must deliver good quality work. Yes, I want to conclude this because I also want to request for the list of city schools and their contractors.
I just wanted to add
the list of contractors of 117 city schools and the sites they have, because we are going there.
Yes, I just wanted to add on to what others have said, that the example of Muni and Soroti, you had very good contractors. Is there a law or a policy which says people who have performed well cannot be given again? Now that you have tested that you have good contractors, why couldn't you continue with those ones in your ward? Because if you have tested a contractor and he has done good work, sometimes it's better to maintain them than going for people who do shoddy work.
So,
Let me finish. Mine is finished.
Okay. Can they read two?
Mine is just brief. Mine is just brief.
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. We have also learned something on the ground when you are giving these contractors. Some city schools are bragging because they are not building very fast because you use only one contractor. One contractor and be given the whole region with many contracts and he cannot finish. Why do you gear only one person and yet there are many other better contractors? Thank you.
Of course, some are also drag me because the contracts are inside the contract where we are going to resolve the issues with the site. Like we had that other one of saying NEMA had to this one. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Much as I'm in agreement with what we have agreed on this, I am also concerned on what the Director and Doreen are telling us about the issue of funding that was supposed to be for some other two institutions that are now going to be crippled completely and so. I wanted to ask them also to give us information about these institutions, what has made them drag, what can be done, and what is this that we have in this ministry where we can't act immediately when we realize there are issues with the certain sites and the rest. Can't we do something so that we have? Because now these two, much as we are for the other one now, what about the others? Which ones are these? And what were the problems? And what can be done also so that we have them also constructed?
Thank you, Chair. It's true that the good contractors are the one we would prefer, but the PPD regulation also caution us that why do you use only one person? You have interests, as you heard one honorable mention here, that somebody may have interest. But these two contractors who built for us very good facilities, we have used them again. For example, Complan is the one building Tariet. I think all of you know Tariet is under Ministry of Education and Sports. They are the one building Tariet High Altitude Training Center, and it is again very good work. Those who have visited it. Ambitious has built MOVES. I don't know whether you have visited MOVES or members.
Yeah.
The building of HASTE project.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic facilities. Even part of Chambogo, they built it. But we cannot go beyond that unless it comes to the house and you amend the PPDA Act. Because I know that in the past, when I was a baby almost, when the 22 hospitals were built, they were built by one contractor. And you can test that this Tojo, Anaka are still standing almost intact, no crack. But one contractor built it across. Then our schools, you go to all our public schools, you find similar building, again one contractor. Go to Guru Ai, come to Gubuli here, go to Namagonga, you find the same structure.
It is the same design that we
so
contractors.
You can think about that. But we have tried to use the two who have done very well. The other question you have asked about the detailer here, she's going to ask why we are using one contractor to build 3 or 4 or 5 schools of the 117 schools.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair and members. Chair, you mentioned that you'd like to have a list of the contractors
and their sites.
And their sites.
Yeah.
117 years. I request that I will get back and get you a better copy because this one was a loose one which was just in my folder. I didn't know I was going to to address this, but we have them, because here we have all the 28 lots, the local government in a lot, the school, the contractor, the contract sum, when they started, and some selected photos for each of those sites. So I beg that I submit
Do you think we
that.
can get that today? Before close of business today?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Contractors and the sites.
Yes.
If you give me the sites, I might be mixing.
No, it is well
contractor and the site.
To look how it looks like. It gives you all the information,
Okay.
even with comments.
Okay. I think for that we leave it, but I don't want to go into the debate of contracting and whatever. But I also don't want to say that past experience or performance doesn't contribute to the determination of a contract. At least where I have participated in the contracting, the performance of a contractor in the past has contributed a lot to re-engagement of that contractor, even when the PPDA rules are there. So I don't really think that PPDA is the one complicating matters. It is sometimes when you want to bring on board very many other people who have not delivered before, without giving them trial contract, which must really be smaller. So, honorable members, for me, I think the issue of city schools, we will pick it up again later. Let's first have the what? The list of contractors and their sites. Let's conclude on these other issues that we have raised. After maybe you have commented on them, then the Vice will have something to say.
Mr. Chairman, can they also help us to understand the new ones which they are going to take up?
Chair, what I know is there is just, I think, a process of formulating another project. I think the details have not yet come out, but there is hope that we shall get additional funding to build a similar project throughout the country, of course, and Parliament will be involved.
No, but I think as of now, let's get this. But as we go into the ministerial policy statements, we need the new lot.
Okay.
As of now, let's first get this. But you note that when we are coming to discuss the ministerial policy statement, we should be supplied with the proposed new schools. So they had already raised the issues that I said you will.
She wanted to say something, but she had not said.
I asked about the two others.
The other two is the technical institutions. That what happens? What's the problem? What have you done? So what happens then when you take away the money?
Thank you, Chair and members. The other two institutions, one of them is EPEL, Technical Institute. This one, when it started, the contractor withdrew because of the funding issues. It just happened that his first payment took some bit of time, and he decided not to go back to site. We tried to engage him. He proposed to have his rates changed. We had to go as far as Solicitor General. Solicitor General guided that instead, if we don't have the full funding, possibly we could now break this down, which we did, but still by the time of the Solicitor General's clearance, the contractor was no longer interested. So we are now procuring again for that appeal. That's why we are saying right now there is nothing, going on. Then for the other one is Bamunanika in Luero. True, the contractor did some work. In the Tuesday meeting, I still engaged the same contractor and wondering why he's not responding to our communications. Even when he pledges to get back to site, he doesn't go. He actually just said that he lost interest in the contract, that maybe he was taken up by some other works. So it was just as plain as that. And of course, he has advanced because most of the buildings are roofed. There are just a few that are at window level. So from my meeting of Tuesday, of course, he said he will be getting back to us in writing on Monday. So because I tried to talk him into resuming these works and have them done, then he said he needed some time to review, and then we'll have to.
But do we just talk to them, or the contract provides for what you have to do? Does the contract define how the relationship is managed?
It does, but along the way, when you're supervising somebody, because you're all looking at the deliverable at the end. Sometimes when you say, okay, I'm terminating, you're also weighing the other costs, or even the time that we are going to take to procure, get another contractor. So when you look at that, then you say, okay, you come on table. What should we do? We really want
take
this.
Take a case of these particular ones. When did you sign the contract? A contract like this one, which you are extending every time. Really, would you have to go into those considerations evaluating or reconsidering any other decision when you have extended several times? Someone you have written to him, several correspondences has not responded, and someone is telling you how he has lost interest.
No, that is
I think I would really imagine that the Monday response, if at all it comes, should determine a more decisive position that you should take. Because, I'm sorry to go back to this. It is this kind of approach which makes people come to a conclusion that it seems these people award themselves the contracts. No, you needed to be, maybe if you were there, they wouldn't have talked. You needed to be there. You need to be there. And someone these are 2/3 of the contractors have lost interest. 2/3. And the 1/3, the 1/3 is the one we are struggling with. So ordinarily one would say, all the contractors are really not serious. So you can see for that particular. So Honorable Vice has something to say, and then we close this.
Yes. Thank you, Honorable Chair, and Honorable colleagues. I must apologize. I'm late to come. I'm having issues of getting my child from UK. Yes, they are locking down the city. We shall go to that after the meeting. Yes, I think I'm tempted to begin from Madame Doreen has ended, and my brother Robert Oching. Are you ready now, doctor, sir? Yes. Anytime, yes. I want to address you properly. Yes, but now, honorable colleagues, it again takes us on the issue of these issues of these contracts. Surely, if you have a well-designed contract as per the guidelines, per the law, and the contractor signs the contract with you, if you say that you go into the business of talking to him to see how things move, and maybe that's laissez-faire. And I believe, like the chair said, it leaves a lot to be desired, because you will not stop somebody from thinking that there is connivance, or you will not stop someone from thinking that the contract is for Doreen or Engineer Pio. It's I want you to take that one very seriously. And if it raises audit queries and the issue go to PAC, there is no way you escape from it. So to me, I would not accept that excuse that you are giving. Then secondly, there is a question which you didn't answer from one of the colleagues. I think it was Honorable Baba Diri who asked the question. Why are you giving one contractor? Why are you giving one contractor many contracts? I know you have lots where you put a number of projects. But does the PPD Act force you to do that? That you should get one lot, put there 5 projects, and you put one contractor in there? No, I don't think so. And I think somewhere someone gets overwhelmed and fails to perform.
Then they get some conductors. I don't know, they should follow.
Then the issue of which you talked about, Director, the issue of getting money from other projects. I would, if you are going to work it out with your permanent secretary to reallocate funds, I don't think this is going to be, it should not appear anywhere that Parliament has directed to do that. And we are not going for us to do that. If you want to get money from somewhere and take it somewhere, that's your business. It's not the business of this committee, and I don't think it's the business of Parliament. I know colleagues have talked about Churubura. It so happens that I have some technical experience on some of those things. But Madam Doreen, if you went to Churubura, like now, you see what is at the site, what these people are doing. I think the best thing that you would do to these people is take them to prison straight. They're not doing any construction work. You cannot even start repairing a building that has never been used. It's a boring. The situation at that institution is bad, and I just pray that you do something. Because what was the total contract sum for that project when you signed it in 2013? 2.2. And how much have you spent on it now? 2.2 billion. And how much have you spent on that building now?
1 billion.
So is the problem, I'm sorry to take you back, is the problem with you or with the contractor? Who is not doing what? And where are all those extensions? The situation is very serious, and I want you to take it at that level. It's very, very serious. We don't want you to be having issues with whoever is supposed to monitor and see how things are moving in the ministry, and especially in your division.
I know they told us that he's now repairing, and I wondered whether they are going to remove that he's so easy for building instead of sand. What are going to do those buildings? To remain there? How long will they remain with that delay for building?
Yes, Honorable Shira.
Yeah. When we were going through, something came to my mind. Epel, I suppose, is in Katapi. Remember, Epel is in Katapi. Bamunanika is in Luwero. Kazo is in Churubura. Okay? And coincidentally, all these are represented by your ministers, including your former Minister of Education. Is there a conspiracy to bring down the ministers? Because Honorable Jessica Lupo, Bamunanika, the current minister,
Honorable Muyingo.
Kazo, the current minister, Honorable Kata. Is there a conspiracy to bring down our ministers? I'm tempted to think so. If this is what brought down our former minister, we are afraid for our current minister.
Okay, let them respond. I think let them respond to those issues. We have raised it. Mr. Yes, you can respond to the members' issues.
Yes, let me start, and my colleagues will take it up. Reallocation of funds. It is true, reallocation of funds is really the business of the Ministry of Education and Finance with their approval. But these funds, I'd like to explain to you, honorable members, it is in the same project. that is development of BTVET. So we are not taking fund from one project to another. We are using the same fund which was meant for this, because in that project there were 3 activities to take place. But now,
Mr. Cheng, sorry to interject here.
Yes.
You have funds for 3 institutions.
Yes.
Each institution is allocated its money.
Yes.
And that's what your work plan is talking about.
Yes.
What was the contingency measure did you put in the contract that in case that one fails, this is the fallback position? Because you are kidding the other institution.
You know, the contingent measures is re-advertisement, because these people have refused that they have lost interest. They have lost interest in the site. You cannot force somebody to do a work when it doesn't.
Contract say. There is a problem.
Supposing all the 3 sites had completed, where would you get the money? Now you're using money to complete 1, money for 2. Where would you get money if the 3 awarded contracts had been completed? Seems like
Honorable Chair, you are aware that the Ministry of Education gets money from the Ministry of Finance, and a supplementary can be raised when there is a need. I don't think it is blocked completely. That we cannot do
but you know how we normally quarrel over those things.
We don't want to go
supplementaries.
We don't want to go to that.
We have so many needs and we are afraid to get supplementaries, haven't we? So, we do have so many needs. We are almost a crisis under the higher education financing, whatever, where people were storming the place in the big numbers that have been left out, and have we got the money? But the need is there. But anyway, every bad thing also has the other good bit of it. If this money could actually be used to finish one, then we look for money to finish the others also, to be okay. But all of them need the money and need the contractors.
She's having responded on reallocation. No, she's just you respond on the issue why one contractor will 4 or 5 institutions.
Chair and members, on the issue of the lotting and awarding one contractor 3, 4, 5 schools. Members, this came from, it was a directive that, and the thinking was, this was to attract big and well-established contractors that have the personnel, the equipment, and the finances to execute these works. But like I said,
sorry, as you communicate us, give us time not again to raise other issues at the end. It's a directive from who?
From cabinet. Because this was a bigger team having finance, education, health, local government, auditor general, PPDA, all of them. And
but honorable members, the issue is not here that the lotting, because it has happened. Some of us have worked, and the contractors had the same arrangement. But the issue is now at execution. The issue is at execution. These classrooms, by the way, they don't take much time to build. They only need an organized contractor who has the capacity and the money. I remember where I used to work, you could give somebody 5 schools, and within 3 months he has delivered all of them. But we end up having just about 3 or 4 contractors who were competent in that, leaving out those ones who were struggling. So, can we bring in more contractors? Really, yes, we can talk of building capacity, but also ensuring quick execution of works. If we had more, instead of having 5 sites that are so scattered, far apart, can somebody have 3 that are near each other, and another one 2 near each other? I think that's where the issue is.
NKW doesn't have another contract.
Now, you first get the list of contracts. And now,
I'm praying that you never get.
but anyway,
And now
Yeah,
that
the issue of the loading is being addressed, being considered that.
yeah, but at least for what you have given out so far, let's emphasize on delivery.
yes.
But the next set of schools should be spread to as many competent contractors as possible. Remember, I also don't again agree with saying the district, because people want to give their relatives and friends, and then you still have struggle with the schedule work. They must be competent. This kind of arrangement of contracting, to me, where it was like regionalized, sub-regional or whatever, it was okay. But could we have got more of the contractors? For me, the challenge of construction is even when you go to what the districts are, the districts are contracting, it's even worse. It's even worse. For me, a more organized and a more inclusive approach is okay.
It's okay, as long as they have the
And in any case, secondary education is not yet decentralized. In any case. Yeah. So, but you saw from Kiruhura, the way the district leadership is working with that contractor, it is solving the problem if those people are involved at the contracting point.
Chair, just to conclude, there's no conspiracy within the Department of Civil Construction to bring down our ministers. It was a thinking now that all the three ministers have this technical institute in their constituencies. And it seems all these constituencies, all these institutions have not succeeded. So it is a belief now that maybe even Honorable Lupo failed because of IPEN. Now there are two ministers who are at the mercy of our mercy, according to honorable members. It is not true. We do not want to bring our ministers down.
Also, by what coincidence did the Katakwi and the Pamunanika be the beneficiary? What coincidence? So it's like you decided to say, let's give a Lupo, let's give Muingo, and let's give YK Museveni. So that doesn't question. He has one in Kiruhura, and the minister herself has one in Katakwi. And another one has in the lower. What coincidence is that?
Just small information.
No, I wouldn't expect Doreen to ask that, because really at the identification of where it is not her part.
It is not.
Her part comes later.
Yeah, the construction.
Honorable Chair, you first.
Maybe that one.
Please give me. You remember, Honorable Chair, there was a budget line here where they named 5 and the Queen was included. But Robert said, and then following year, I don't see Queen, I see these 3 in the minister's.
No, I think let's carry that. Let's carry this to the policy statement, because you can see the interesting coincidence, very suspicious one. That His Excellency President Museveni has one in his district. Then the Minister of Education, the Honorable Jessica Lupo, had one. Then the Minister of State for Higher Education has one. The 3 are over. And now when the Honorable Lupo is not there, he has failed. Honorable Muingo, he is trying to survive. Actually, Doreen is trying to revive it. Then somehow the one I don't want to bring in Kataka because she found it. But at least Museveni was there. But these are things. Anyway, honorable members, I think we have engaged enough.
Yeah.
I want us to give them a chance.
I am waiting for the whistle.
I want to give them a chance to be able to get us the list of the contractors and their sites, and you give to.
Do you mean even the ones who have given up, Mr. Chairman?
water tanks.
Yeah.
Tanks.
This is what?
We have mentioned the fencing, but the tanks and electricity wiring in schools.
Anyway, let's keep this one.
Bring back.
I think as far as this is concerned, do we have any money proposed for CASO in the next budget?
For
CASO technical, do we have any more money?
We have not closed the project.
Okay.
So when the project is not closed, the money flows.
So I think as a committee, we will start to handle the next
round.
But I will want to thank you for coming and the responses. Now, as the representative of PS, I was getting so many calls here. I want you to share with him. I also use that opportunity to form the committee. There are parents calling from Navifunsa, girls, that their children are being stopped from being registered for all-level exams, that they are being advised to register in other schools. And yet I remember during the release of PLO, UCE results, the First Lady emphatically advised against the tendency of school managers blocking students from registering. So before the committee can visit some of these schools, kindly share it with the PS, and we expect that in the next few days we will get a position. But to assure you, it's not good that government-aided schools can close out girls of all people.
Chair, this will be taken. I was there when the minister and the first lady was releasing results. She really emphasized this issue. And this is, I call it hypocrisy. Because you cannot say you are good and you want to hide how good you are. Because students must not fail. It is not right. Because how did you admit them first? That's why you never even came with a different approach of grading students. How much value have you added? Somebody who has come with third grade and getting out with first grade is a better student than the one who has come with first grade and ended up with first grade. Because you have not added anything. The student was already bright. So I will take it up and I will even call you to let you know.
I would want to hear what action the PS is taking.
Yes. Immediately he comes back from Entebbe, I will call you.
I don't want to get into, to be seen to be micromanaging schools, but overall, you can see. Now, if you denied all these ladies to register, who would be in parliament? And who would be on the Committee of Education?
Who would be in trouble?
Because this is a girls' school, there are not so many of such schools in this country. And you are locking out children who have been with you paying fees from senior one. I'm told some of them, they are being denied promotions at senior 3 because they want to block them from sitting all level in their schools. So what kind of results are we talking about? These are just cosmetic. So please kindly deliver that to the PS, and of course as a committee we have already picked it up.
It's not only there are many other good schools.
That's what I'm saying, we have picked it up. We will sample out schools.
There will be circular across.
We will sample out schools and we will see. And these are the schools you keep even giving support. Anyway, you're saying centers of excellence, and isn't that one of them?
Yes. Now we saw the alphabet bit.
That is excellent. So, Mr. PS, I want to release you and your team.
Thank you.
But we look forward to getting that.
Before close.
And Engineer Pio, personally, I have no issue with you, but PR is a very rare thing, a very important but rare thing. and yet it matters a lot in your day-to-day working relation with people. So I wish you all the best, and thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, honorable member. Chair.
We expect the list of the proposed schools for the next construction as we come for them, 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 as we come for them.